also known as Beshert of Brooklyn, New York. I just wanted to, first of all, let you know, I guess you know now, that the meeting is being recorded. So I hope that is good for everyone. So we're so happy to be able to meet virtually and to be able to learn from one another and to be able to develop relationships. Much thanks to Deborah Davies of Cork for her wonderful and generous idea of hosting this holiday celebration in her beautiful sukkah. Deborah, I will turn to you to start off our experience today.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming, and I'm so thrilled in particular that we have two rabbis with us. So thank you, Rabbi Heidi and Rabbi David, who I actually can't see on the screen because you're on the next screen at the moment. It's wonderful, and particularly Rabbi Heidi, this is the first time I've seen you to speak to since your sabbatical. And I'm very aware that your sabbatical was also the beginning of Shemitah, which is our sabbatical year, which actually makes this Sukkot even more special because I've been bringing in a lot of harvest, and I'm aware that I won't be bringing in harvest in the same way this time next year. But that is partly why I decided that rather than displaying harvest things, I would display ongoing greenery. So in the corner over there, yep, the corner over there, I have some of my herbs growing. Keep going, Val. It's probably easier if you can see the top of the sukkah. There we go. There's a few herbs growing there. And you can see the top of the sukkah with all of the lights. I had visitors coming, and then you can see my garden. So just a tiny little look. Oh, what happened there? Unplugged? No, that was, I need to restart my video. Can I? Oh, there we go. So you can see just a tiny little bit of my garden here. And here's Val. Okay, I'll put you back to here. When I think about Sukkot, and I'm so appreciative of the beautiful fertile land here, particularly in Ireland, it really makes me so grateful for the ability to grow things. Those of you who know me know I grow most of my vegetables. I very rarely buy vegetables from a shop. Of course, that's going to change next year. Thank you for spotlighting me, Eric. Okay, and there's a little song that I want to sing, Eli, Eli, and it's thanks to Pam, who was the one who tipped me off about it. And it's all about the wish that these things never end, and I do wish that this abundant and beautiful and fertile country never ends. Eli, Eli, Shelo yigamer leolam, Achol v'chayam, Rish Rush Shel Hamayim, Barak Hashamayim, Tfilat Ha'adam, Achol v'chayam, Rish Rush Shel Hamayim, Barak Hashamayim, Tfilat Ha'adam. My God, I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the water, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart, the sand and the sea, the rush of the water, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart. And yes, indeed, this was a poem by Hannah Shanesh, who was a Holocaust heroine. But I won't go into the whole story because we have a big program today. And are there any other people in sukkahs, I don't know if that's the right plural, who'd like to show them off before we make the Arba Minim blessing? Okay, so let's make the Arba Minim. I'll bring it over. Do you want, Val, you haven't yet had the chance. Left hand, left hand, right hand. Get yourself in front, and that's, Val, that's east.
Okay. So I need to stand here.
So, do you want to, shall I sit, oh, hang on a minute, let me just sit down. Sorry, guys. All right. Do you want me to hold that for you?
Okay, so
All right.
is it just the prayer that you
Baruch, yes.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, Lord our God, sovereign of the universe. Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotov v'tzivanu, who has sanctified us with his commandments and commanded us. Al netilat lulav. Amen.
Amen.
To take up the lulav. Amen. I have to face east.
And you are facing east. And give it a good
east.
shake. We don't want too much rain here.
Okay, good shake. And do I go around the other ways as well, like we did last time? I only shake to the east, is it? Okay, there we go.
Yes. Oh, that's right. You do.
I
Go
do.
south.
Thank you.
That's right. I'd forgotten that.
East, south.
That's south.
Excuse my back. West.
And then you go to the west. Yes,
Yes,
that's right.
yes.
And then the north.
I remember this from last
You
time.
do.
Yeah.
Oh, beautifully
There we
done.
go.
Thank you. Do you want to put them
Yes.
back? Gorgeous. Okay, I'm going to hand back to Yvette. Okay. So Eric, if you stop spotlighting me.
Hello, Val. Hello. Hello, Deb.
Hello.
Hello. Long time no see.
Yes.
Well, this was really very special to watch the two of you in the sukkah doing this, shaking the lulav and showing us the etrog. It was really so wonderful. And now we're going to sort of move on to something else that's traditional for this holiday, which is, discussing the text, some of the themes of Ecclesiastes. And I'm very pleased to introduce Sarah Goldberg of the Cork Jewish Community by way of America, including Bensonhurst, Brooklyn people. And Sarah will be chanting a little bit of the text for us. So please go ahead, Sarah. And I guess, Eric, if you would like to spotlight Sarah, that would be great. Thank you.
So very briefly about the chanting. When someone chants from the Tanakh, you know what text the person's chanting and what it should sound like by means of cantillation or trope markings, and you'd find them above and below the letters. And these markings act as a form of musical grammar. They tell the listeners when each verse ends and if there's a specific point where you really should pay close attention. So different parts of the Tanakh are chanted differently, though you're using the same notation, and the systems are going to be sung differently in different communities, but they're very highly interrelated. So once you know Torah trope, it's pretty easy to learn Haftorah trope, and then the trope for Lamentations, and the trope that's used for the Book of Esther, or this, it's the same trope for Ecclesiastes, and there's trope for the Book of Esther, and then there's this form of trope, which you use for Ecclesiastes, the Book of Ruth, and the Song of Songs. So what's neat is in a time where before there's printing presses and everyone can have their own book, if you went into a synagogue and just by listening, you could tell what's being read and you could tell when each sentence ends. And even if you didn't speak Hebrew, you'd have some sort of feeling of what's going on with the text. So I'm going to be chanting chapter 11 of Kohelet, which is the shortest with 10 verses. Shlach lecha apanei hamayim, Giver of hayamim, Kimsanu, ten kalak lishpa v'gam lishpona, Hilo teta, Mayera Aretz, Amimalu, Ariv Gashem, Aretz Yirahu, Bim Yapoim, Betarom, Bim Betafon, Michom, Shefo Ha'etz Sham Yehu, Shomer Ruach Lo Yisrael, Ro'at Avim Lo Yiksur, Kasher Incha Yudel Matarak Haruach Hatzamim Zen Hamleah Lo Teta at Me'atzeh Elohim Asher Yaseh at Hakol HaPoker Tara at Tzar'acha Erev Atana Yadaka and Chayateha Eitza Yiksar Hazah Mosav Im Shnehem Chachat Tovim Matov Kaor Matov Lenayim Lerot et Hashanash Hihi Im Shni Harpeha Yahadam Bekula Yismahak Vayizkor et Yimnei HaChoshak Ki Harpeyu Hoshabah Avel Shema Bakor Ayal Dutacha Vaitivka Vivka Vimei Bechorotecha Bahalek B'darkei Livcha Uvarei Inacha V'dah I'll call Ela Ivacha Elohim B'mishpat Vaser Ha'as Milipacha V'havera'ah Mibsaracha Ki Hayaltot Asacharot Chavel.
Well, that was really, really beautiful. Very impressive. Thank you so much, Sarah. Very impressed with your knowledge and scholarship on this. Thank you. I think this is now going to get us into the mood to start our discussion on Ecclesiastes. Eric, I think if you could put this on the screen, the attachment. Thank you. And what I would like to do is see if someone would like to read. I think the first page we could have 2 readers, and the last page just 1 reader. Would somebody like to read from verses 14 through 17? Yes, Tamara wants to know if it can be made larger. Thank you. Okay, would someone like to read from verses 14 through verses 17?
I'll read.
Thank you.
The wise man's eyes are in his head, and the fool walks in darkness. Nevertheless, I came to understand that the same fate overtakes them all. And I said to myself, as it happens to the fool, so will it happen to me. How then was I wiser? Then I said to myself, this also is vanity, for there is no enduring remembrance of the wise more than of the fool. In the coming days, everything that was shall be forgotten. Oh, the wise man dies just like the fool. Therefore, I hated life, for everything that is done under the sun was grievous to me, for everything is vanity and a striving after wind.
Thank you. Now, will someone read from 18 through 23?
I'll
Yeah,
do it.
I will.
Okay, thank you.
David.
David, go ahead. Thank you.
18 to 33, okay. Now, where is it? 18. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. I hated all my labor at which I had labored under the sun, because I must leave it to the man who shall come after me. Who knows whether he will be a wise man or a fool, but he will rule over all my labor at which I have labored, and in which I have shown myself wise under the sun. This also is vanity. And so I despaired within myself regarding all the labor at which I had labored under the sun. For if there is a man whose labor is done and with wisdom, with knowledge and with skill, it will yet go as an inheritance to a man who has spent no labor on it. This is also vanity and a great evil. For what does a man have of all his labor and of striving of his mind in which he labors under the sun? For all his days are pain, and his occupation is grief, and at night his mind finds no rest. This also is vanity.
Thank you.
Oh.
No, let's stop there, because I want to go now to chapter 9, verses 7 to 10, which is pages 53 and 55. So if Eric, you could screen share. We start where it says, go your way. Now, I realize I wasn't properly figuring out who's wants to read. So I don't know if you should raise your hand, or if someone wants to, maybe we should try raising the hand, because I think I missed someone before.
Val would like to.
I'm happy.
Okay,
If that's
go ahead. So you can read from where it's verse 7 through 10. So
Okay.
that's on the next page. Thank you.
Go your way, eat your bread with joy, and drink your wine with a merry heart, for God has long ago accepted your work. Let your garments always be white, and let your head lack no ointments. Live joyfully with the woman or the man whom you love, all the days of the life of your vanity, which he has given you under the sun. Next page, please.
Yes, it says all the, and
Yep.
Yeah.
All the days of your vanity, for that is your portion in life and in your work which you do under the sun. Whatever your hands find to do, do it with all your might, for there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave where you are going.
thank you.
Okay.
So I picked these two parts, but truthfully, that's repeated throughout the text. It go with Kohelet, our writer, going back and forth between these two ideas that to me seem inconsistent. One is about as vanity of life, and then he says, in the famous first chapter, that everything is vanity. There is nothing new under the sun. All things are wearisome. And in fact, he who increases knowledge increases pain. And then he concludes with this idea of being happy with the one you love, eating, drinking, being content with your portion. So I don't know if he's arguing with himself, trying to convince himself. I'm not sure, but I would like to know, does Kohelet convince you to be content after telling you that all is vanity? Why and why not? So I'm going to go on participants and see if I see anyone raising their hand. Ellen.
No, I'm just a reader. I don't have.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were raising your hand for this.
Yvette.
Is anyone? Yes.
Do you want me to stop sharing the screen?
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Yes, thank you. Okay, so normally I would say, oh, Tamara, you're raising your hand.
Yes, I am.
Go ahead.
Well, I don't have a response to the whole piece, but to me it seems, and I think it happens to all of us, is that he or she, I'm not sure if Kohelet was a male or female writer. I assume male, but who knows? He or she, or this person, was actually was writing out their thoughts. They may not have had a response. They may have been just trying to figure out the response, just like we all are. You know, is this worth doing? Is life worth living? What are the good points and what are the bad points, and how do I go on? So I don't have an answer, but I feel that it might have been a discussion or an argument within this person's individual mind. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Pam and Frank.
So Frank and I were discussing this today because he's reading from Good News for Modern Man, and it occurred to me that the idea of free will versus determinism is in here. So the question is God, does God preordain what happens in our life? And if we do, then that might make us miserable because we have no control over it. Or do we have the free will to choose? And hopefully if we have the free will to choose, we find a path that's pleasing for us. And then of course that leads to like bigger questions about what's going on in the world around us, and if science is enough of an explanation for things that we call natural disasters, or if God has a hand in it.
You know, it's interesting. I didn't personally, while reading it, see that aspect of free will and determinism. I'm seeing it sort of the opposite, that people you have your free will, people are using it to find meaning in their lives. They're doing all types of things. They're striving for material possessions. They're striving for wisdom. And that he's saying in the end, it's all vanity. If you do something good, if you do something wise, you die just like the wise man dies like the fool. Whatever labors you put in, no one remembers you, just like, after you're gone, your labor that you built up goes to someone who never strove for it, on the one hand. And on the other hand, be content with your portion. I think it's your approach. To me, when I'm reading it, it's like your approach to what is in life. And I guess my thinking is, how significant is it to have meaning in your life? They say the whole goal of religion, the whole reason religion came into being was for humanity to put meaning into life, make life meaningful. So here he's saying, you know what, in my opinion, he's saying life is not meaningful. And that embittered him. I mean, that's what I got out of this, but, Deborah.
Yeah, I think we don't have control of where we come into life and the situation we come into, and we don't have any control about what happens after us. The only thing we do have choice and power over is what happens in the now. So for me, the idea of contentment, about living in the present moment, making the most of what you've got. And I don't know if I think the vanity idea is the idea that we are somehow in control of what's beyond us. And I think that's a pure vanity, because I genuinely don't think we are in control of anything beyond our own lives. but we are in control of, like, to me, the big difference is, am I living in a peaceful way? Am I happy day to day, or am I miserable? That's the one that makes the big difference to me.
Can I offer to
Yes.
you what the English landscape painter John Constable said a very long time ago? If you take a man's vanity away from him, you leave him with nothing.
Ah.
There's another interesting observation.
Well,
Vanity is an attitude of mind, of self-importance. In that context, if you take it away from them, you leave them with nothing.
well, it's very interesting. Vanity, when I think that when we think of vanity, we think of something, it's frivolous and meaningless. They're saying vanity. If you used a different sort of expression like self-affirmation and all that, which is very, something that we consider positive. I guess it depends what you mean by vanity. But if we're left with nothing, is that acceptable as a person? If you could say to yourself, all these things are vanity, all of these things are just frivolous, meaningless, we're not going to know anything about it once we're gone. We're not going to pass it on to our children. Our life isn't particularly meaningful. The good we do doesn't go beyond us. Is that enough for us?
Yvette, Marion wants to speak.
Okay. Go ahead.
It's a breath.
Marion, unmute yourself.
No, come back here. The Hebrew word translation is vanity, is chevel.
Yes,
Nothingness.
just a very small point. Does vanity in this context, are we talking actually self-esteem? Because then if you take vanity away, then you lose your self-esteem. And what sort of a person are you then? But
that's what I was getting at. You expressed it better than I did. That's how I was trying to say.
Yes, if that equates, I'm not sure.
Go on.
Deborah?
No.
It's Val, actually.
I'm sorry.
I just think it's quite interesting what Rabbi Heidi was saying earlier. She just put in the chat that this was King Solomon's view on his deathbed. And I think you have to take it into consideration, the age that he was and what he'd been through, because we can strive our whole lives, but when we come to die, everybody dies the same. And perhaps he's feeling that all that he tried to achieve in his life was all vanity. It's a difficult one because it depends how you interpret the word vanity. Some people say ego, whereas, as Marion points out, it could be just your own self-esteem and what you're trying to do in the now, in this world. And I think everyone, we certainly want to do the best for the world and for our family and for people around us. But yes, I think it was a sort of a bitter comment of a dying king that he felt that everything was fruitless and worthless and we all die the same way. That's just how I interpreted it.
But the trouble with that is that the scholars no longer think it was written by Solomon, but much later. And we're arguing about a translation. I mean, there's a scholar in California, Robert Alter, who did a translation of, I think he's done the whole Tanakh. And he translates as merest breath, said Kohelet. Merest breath, all is mere breath. And in his footnote to that, he says that the Hebrew implies much more, a much more sort of an insubstantial thing, not an abstract, but a breath of wind. It's all just the passage, the passage of a breath of wind, rather than, vanity in the moral sense. The King James translation is very beautiful, but it's not the only one.
Yes, I see Pam and Frank have written vanity, from Latin emptiness, lack of judgment, foolish pride. And Rabbi wrote, yes, hevel, which means nothingness or breath. And Laura Michaels says that ruach, and talks about ruach and breath. And Deborah Davies talks about saying life, he's saying life is ephemeral. But now, I just want to sort of, go ahead, I'm sorry, did someone say something? No? But do we feel from what he's saying, though, that he concludes that you should be content with your portion? Do we, because of, and if that's the case, I'm curious to know how people feel about contentment. What does contentment mean to you? And do you feel you are content? Sarah?
I'm doing a very musical theater reference, but the last line of Pippin before Bob Fosse changed it was, how do you feel now? Trapped but happy. So that you can be in a state where you feel like, maybe this is all there is, maybe this is what this is, but I can still be okay with it. And I can still find some joy in a situation that maybe wouldn't be what I would have chosen for myself.
Thank you. Freema?
Contentment could mean different things. I mean, you could be content one day with what you're going through and then be sad the next day. I mean, to me, contentment means that you try your best to do things and you hope things work out, and you try to find your happiness in the things that you're doing, but not all the time does that work out. And sometimes we just have to, we just have to go with the flow, as they say, so not all the time things work out. Not all the time is things happy. Sometimes things are sad, but I just feel we have to just go on. That's what contentment really means to me.
Linda Horowitz?
It's interesting because when people have asked me in the past, how would I describe my life? I've always used the word contented. I've never needed more. I've always been very grateful for what I have. And some people, including my sisters, actually asked me, don't you want to be motivated for more? Don't you want to strive for more? And I would always say, yes, of course, but I don't expect more. I don't need more. I'm happy with my apartment. I don't need a big house. I'm happy with my fabulous one daughter. I don't need a flock of kids running around.
Mm-hmm.
I was always so grateful for my job. I didn't need to be the owner of a company. I was just so grateful and so proud of my own personal accomplishments that it was never a competition. I don't like being part of the competitive world where this one, and jealousy is not in my vocabulary. I'm very content. I don't need more. I'm just grateful for what I have. That's the bottom line.
Well, that was really a wonderful statement, Linda. I really appreciate that statement. As a matter of fact, I think it may go into my next question in a way, but I'm so glad that you have found this contentment. And I know you definitely should be content with your daughter. She's a lovely young woman. So I'm glad about that.
Thank you so much.
Let's see if anybody else has said anything, wants to say something.
Teddy has some interesting comments in the chat.
Oh, thank you. I haven't even been looking at the chat, which I should be. Okay, Teddy, do you want to speak, or should I read? I could read what it says. I am reminded of Jeremiah, and she gives the site. Thus says God, let not the wise man glory in his wisdom, nor the mighty man in his might, or the wealth of their riches. Let it be about this, that they understand and know me. Yes, that's
Beautiful.
very, yes.
Could I
does anyone-
jump in, Mo?
Yes, please.
Hi,
Go
it's
ahead.
David
Hello,
Hi.
Rabbi
Dan here.
David.
And
Thank you.
now I'm now in Gloucester, Massachusetts, at Gloucester. And happy holiday to all of you. Chag Sameach, Shabbat Shalom. And there's so much wisdom in this group. It's really inspiring. I would just add that it's interesting, I think, to contrast Kohelet and his theology and his approach to life to that of other parts of our Bible, Deuteronomy. And this, his book turns out not to be very orthodox in similar to the sense that we would think of it today. But, you know, Deuteronomy presents this view that if you follow the laws of the Torah, that you will automatically be rewarded. You know, you'll have many offspring, your crops will be good, and so forth. It's kind of mechanical almost. And this is quite the opposite of that, you know, that no sure reward in the next life or even in this life. But then, you know, he asks the deeper questions, as you've reflected on so deeply, that what is the meaning of life then for us? Is it just to have a personal satisfaction and to know that we're doing the right thing and that we have meaningful relationships, we are able to extract pleasure from the moment? There's a kind of the philosophy of seize the day, carpe diem, is very well expressed here in Ecclesiastes. But I would say that that we pointed out too, and Deborah and Val and some of the others, that there are so many there are contradictions in Ecclesiastes' approach. Now, it may be that that's because his work is an anthology of many views and teachings and proverbs and reflections that were gathered together by some editor, or it may be that it just reflects how we actually experience life, that our views change from moment to moment, and we become discouraged and we despair of finding meaning or having a sense that our work will endure, and that other times we realize that we do it because it's meaningful to us now or because it's the right thing to do, and we hope that there will be some remnant or memory of us as we go forward. So I find this such a powerful book and so appropriate to the season, a time of harvest, you know, and many of us are a time in life when we are kind of sifting through, you know, the experiences that we've had and thinking about our values and, you know, what impact our lives may have had and what pleasures, what successes and disappointments we may have had as well. So a very powerful book, and I'm glad we can discuss it together.
Rabbi, thank you so much for those comments. I'm still absorbing them, but you're leading me also into my next question, which was, is contentment a Jewish value? And the reason I'm saying it, maybe I'm interpreting it too literally. I think listening to some of the things Linda Horowitz said gives me pause to rethink some of this. But I was thinking that if you think about, to me, what we have in the Hebrew Bible, you know, to me, it's all about journeys. It's all about, Abraham doesn't say, well, I'm going to stay where I am and to involve myself with the religion that I have. He's going to go forth. You know, we have Exodus. We have, and even beyond, we have, you know, the concept of Tikkun Olam. We have the creation of the state of Israel. We even have, you know, what happened in the diaspora after the destruction of the temple. It seems like, to me, mostly we're not told in Judaism, and of course, Jacob wrestling with the angel, and that's how you get the name Israel. So to me, we're not really told, well, you know, be content. You know, to me, we're striving for something, usually to improve things or to, you know, to follow God's commandments to the best we can or whatever. But maybe there's a way of reconciling these ideas. Anyway, I want to know if anyone has any thoughts on that, on if this, how contentment relates to Jewish values.
I don't know.
Hi, this is Tamara.
Exclusively.
Yes. Okay, Tamara, and then Ellen. I think David wants to speak also. And maybe some more people, I don't know. So let's start with those. Go ahead, Tamara.
Okay, well, I was thinking of what Linda Horowitz said, and I agree with her in many ways on a personal level. I think there are different levels with contentment and what contentment is. On a personal level, one can be content with what they have, with the wonderful life they have, the family they have, where they live. Not everybody is, of course. But on a social level and on a humanitarian level, as you mentioned, Tikkun Olam, humankind needs to strive for more. There are many ills in this world that need fixing. And if we were all content, there would be no scientists. If we were all content, there would be no going forward and inventing and helping and striving. Even the fact of, when I was thinking of contentment, I also thought of the Tower of Babel. Humankind was not content at that point. So when the tower was being built, it was struck down because it was a threat to the higher being. But I feel there are different gradations and levels of contentment. And as far as whether or not it's Jewish, again, it depends on whether you're looking at it from a personal point of view. We all need to strive for something, especially when we're younger. As we get older, our striving might take, might level off a little bit. But anyway, so I feel it depends on the individual and society at large. Thank you.
Thank you. I like that. I like that analysis. That's very interesting. Ellen?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that about the contentment. I listened to Linda and Freeman, and I said, yeah, I can. That's an anchor for me. I need that. I think it's a universal concept, contentment. It's not Jewish, it's not anything. It's what we all need to move on, because if you have something that's your anchor, you can then step out into the world and challenge yourself. And that's the other part of contentment. I remember hearing an old phrase that my mother used to say. She had all kinds of things to say. And one thing she said was, if it's not broken, break it. And I just love that. What do you mean? That's not what you're supposed to say. But she said, sometimes you really do have to do something destroy something, or put it aside and say, I have to find another way, open myself to other people and to other ideas and see other people's point of view. And that's valuable as well. So I don't think these things are mutually exclusive. I think you can have them both. And the other thing I wanted to say is this vanity thing is kind of, oh, there's my phone, of course. This vanity seems to be the opposite end of the self. And I think of the word, very sorry, I can't, about the word selfish. I got to that, and that really just means of the self. And if you look at it that way, I see it differently than vanity, which seems like something that might propel you to think in a different way, but I don't think it's useless. I don't think vanity is even useless. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Ellen. Now I think David wanted to speak. Then we have Rob, and then we have Rabbi Hoover. Go ahead, David.
I wanted to make the observation that certainly contentment is a human quality, and it's not exclusively Jewish. It couldn't be. I think that in life we have the task of filling each day with some kind of occupation. Oscar Wilde said that every man should have an occupation, even if it's only smoking cigarettes. So you have to fill your day doing something. And the majority of people who have the opportunity strive to complete a project or a task and to do it as well as they possibly can. This is the self-projection of what I am. I am a builder. I am making something out of my life. And I'm doing it because my life is actually very short. I'm not going to be here for very long. And at the end of it, I want to leave some kind of mark, because if I don't leave a mark, then what will have the point have been of my being here? I got to put an X in the ground or an X in a tree so that somebody who comes along will say, yeah, well, a man put an X in that tree, a man planted that tree, a man designed that parkland, a man laid the pavement stones on the street, a man made the street, a man built that building. These are all works of endeavor and great accomplishments. And if it wasn't for life and for the pursuit of our occupations, the world would be an incredibly boring place. It would be unbelievably boring. You would be so bored that you'd want to leave it faster than you could look at it. So it is that combination. Contentment is a very big part of what we do. Are we contented with what we do? If you're not contented with what you do, then it means you want to strive for something a little bit better. And there's nothing wrong with having another aim, which is a little bit higher each time, so that you can go up the ladder rather than staying on an even keel. I accept and appreciate absolutely what was it Linda said. She's contented. That's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. It's much better to be contented than to be discontented. People who are discontented can be very difficult to get on with, and they're striving and looking for greater acclaim, greater success. They want to make more money. They want to build more buildings. And sometimes they do a lot of damage in the course of those endeavors too. So it's not an easy story. It's not an easy question to resolve. It's a very interesting philosophical question. It would take, I suppose, 20 philosophers 3-4 lifetimes to even begin to state the hypothesis. I think it's an interesting one.
Well, thank you for those wise words. And I see you don't necessarily agree with Kohelet, and I kind of agree with you. I think we're going to do Rob, and then we're going to close out with Rabbi Hoover, because we have a little more to the program. It's getting late already. But this has been very interesting for me. I'm very much enjoying it. And go ahead, Rob.
Okay, thank you. I don't want to speak long.
Okay.
As far as I know, the Jewish religion, we're supposed to continue learning both professionally and religiously, as opposed to any totalitarian state, which pretty much will make people content. But as soon as they try to go a little bit above that, they've had it. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't think it's really a choice. I think it's really a mandate and a mitzvah to continue in both religious study and, of course, if you're working, secular study. Thank you.
Thank you. Rabbi Hoover.
Thanks, Yvette. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say that I thought it was really interesting, Yvette, that you brought up Abraham as an example of someone who was continually striving and doing and changing, because the account of his death in the Torah reads, he took his last breath and died at a ripe old age, old and contented, and he was gathered to his people. And from that, I would extrapolate that, you know, our lives are indeed for striving and for learning and for doing, but our goal is when we come to our ripe old age, God willing, that in the end we will be contented with what we did throughout our lives and not die feeling that we haven't lived our lives the way we wanted to live them. And that's how I see the question of contentment, and that Abraham, despite all that he did and all of the turmoil in his life, died old and contented. And I think that that's a good way to die.
Well, that is also, well, each thing everyone is saying to me leads on to more and more thought and questions. And this too is a very interesting point that you're making, Rabbi. And actually, this is a good note, I think, on which to end the discussion, because now we've discussed at least being content at the end. You know, when all is said and done, being content. I thank everyone for all of this. I now have a lot to think about. I think we all do. And now we're going to pivot to another part of the program. Actually, are Joni and Bill here? I forgot to look to see if they are here. They are here? Great.
Yeah, they're here.
Oh, terrific. Because now we have a special treat, which will be Joni and Bill Schaefer, part of the what they call and Naz. Oh my goodness, we have Naz as well. Oh, this is very special, very special. The Schaefer family band in full, complete and in full, and singing a song that most of us remember from from our youth, and that's very much associated with this holiday. So go on, Schaefer family band. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thanks. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to weep. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to dance, a time to war. A time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time of love, a time of hate, a time of war, a time of peace, a time you may embrace, a time to refrain from embracing. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to gain, a time to lose, a time to rend, a time to sow, a time for love, a time for hate, a time for peace. I swear it's not too late. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven.
Yvette, you have to unmute yourself.
That was beautiful. And we have tons of comments praising you. You're the next Peter, Paul, and Mary, or we don't even need Peter, Paul, and Mary, and so on. And this was just beautiful. Thank you so much. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't say to those who may not know that the text of this song directly comes from Ecclesiastes. And maybe it even answers some of the questions we were pondering, because of course it's saying there's a time for everything. You know, all these different, you know, these parent contradictions are all part of life, you know, and
Yvette,
emerge at different times. Yes.
Yvette, they wants to ask Pete Seeger why he writes all these protest songs. Why doesn't he write something religious? Well, he took the Ecclesiastes and he composed the music for that, just to show he could do something religious.
Oh, really? That's very
Yeah.
interesting. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I think we're coming to the close of our program. We're going to, I believe we're going to do Havdalah and end this Shabbat, because in Ireland it's time. Deborah, is that what we're up to now?
Yes.
Well, that's
this
wonderful.
Was just beautiful, all of it, every single bit, and the discussion and all the different ideas. And Joni and Bill, I love your singing. It's such a treat always to hear you. I have heard you before, so it was a great treat. Okay, so Val and I are going to make Havdalah together.
We just want to apologize. There's a bit of background noise from next door. There's nothing we can do about that. We hope you can hear us clearly. Anyway,
yeah, hopefully it's not too intrusive. Okay. Yes. So hold up the spice. Oh no, hold up the grape.
Yeah. The juice first of all.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen.
We praise you, eternal God, creator of the universe and creator of the fruit of the vine. Okay.
Now the spice box, isn't it beautiful?
Lovely.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei v'samim.
We praise you, eternal God, creator of the universe and creator of all spices. Okay.
Yes, that's it. And then light. Do you want to light it?
Yes, I can.
Short candle.
It's a beautiful, beautiful Havdalah candle. Never been lit. Isn't it gorgeous?
Very special.
I got that from Israel many years ago.
Do you want me to do them?
Yes, would you like to?
I'll light while you hold.
Okay.
Oops. Oh, sorry, guys.
A little bit of a breeze.
Yep. Up a little bit more.
Just, yeah. Well done. Lovely. Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei mo'orei ha'aish. And that's we praise you, eternal God, creator of the universe and creator of fire.
Okay. Now we say this. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamavdil bain kodesh l'chol bain o kodesh bain Yisrael la'amim bain yom hashvi'i l'shayeshet yemei hama'aseh.
Baruch atah Adonai hamavdil bain kodesh l'chol.
We praise you, eternal God, creator of the universe. You distinguish the commonplace from the holy. You create light and darkness, Israel and the nations, the seventh day of rest and the 6 days of labor. We praise you, O God. You call us to distinguish the commonplace from the holy.
Amen.
Amen.
And does that get pushed out in that?
Can we lift up the wine
so this is actually this is actually homemade blackberry wine.
Such a waste.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Oh.
There we go.
And I want to particularly thank Yvette for emceeing this with such skill and
Oh, I don't know about that.
wonderfulness, and to Eric for being a wonderful screen sharer and recording person and doing a wonderful job altogether with the spotlighting of people and all that. None of this could have happened without everyone.
Indeed.
Yes, I also wanted to say it was just amazing to be able to share this festive occasion across the pond. I would like to thank Deborah Davies for everything that she does. I would like to thank everyone who participated with so much enthusiasm and skill. Val Davins and Sarah Goldberg, and of course, Joni and Bill Schaefer. And I want to thank the people behind the scenes, which would be Eric Platt for his co-hosting and screen sharing and creating attachments, and Tamara Kerner for designing such a great flyer, and Pam Glansman for suggestions behind the scenes. I want to thank the Jewish Cultural Committee of Beshert, including my co-chair, Helene Smith, as always, for support. And I want to thank everyone who attended and participated, and definitely the rabbis who contributed so much. And a happy holiday, and Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Sameach.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye now.
It was just beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very thought-provoking.
Good to see you all.
It was very beautiful. Thank
Very
you so
nice.
much
Very,
for
very
sharing.
nice.
Yes.
It was a pleasure meeting
Thanks so
you.
much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Ron and Phyllis too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was lovely.
All these little
Very
comments.
welcome.
Thank
Wonderful.
So nice to see everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful
Definitely.
to see everyone.
Bye.
Definitely. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you for coming. Lovely.
Thank
Well,
you.
this was great, Deborah. I really, this was really nice.
It was.
And well done to
Parrot.
Thank you.
Is that a parrot?
Yes, it's a conure.
Oh,
This is the first time I'm seeing
Hello,
him.
Rusty.
He likes services. I think he likes Rabbi Heidi, actually. He's
This
always
is the first
going
time
on.
I've seen him. I've heard
Is he
him,
bar
but
mitzvah
it's the
yet,
first
or-
time I've seen him.
Yeah. No, not yet.
Rusty, how you doing?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna get
Right.
off now, but I
Okay.
appreciate everything. I had such a great time, and
was very
thanks
nice.
everyone. Thank you all. Bye-bye now.
Thank you, Yvette.
Bye,
guys.
It was
Bye, everybody.
beautiful.
Thank you.
It was
Thank you.
beautiful.
Thank you, Yvette. Thank you, Deborah.
My pleasure.
see you, Marion. See you, David.
And yes, we'll be in touch.
Thank you, Eric.
Bye.
Okay, I'm going to end.